it's me, Vera, and welcome to Stitch of Fate. Expect that we're going to do bad things that deal with difficult themes and content meant for an adult audience. Take care of yourself, mortal.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Stitch of Fate, a Vampire the Masquerade 5th edition podcast. As always, I am your storyteller, Mike Martin, joined by my wonderful players, Dot, Bub, Josh, and Mark. Hello, everybody.
Hello.
Hey, friends.
Hey.
It's our last session together for season 1.
Whoa.
Oh, no.
I know.
It's
It's
kinda
not the last
sad.
episode for listeners, but
Correct.
it's the last batch.
We're on the downward slide, y'all.
This is it. Everything's coming to a head. You have some, hopefully, some answers, and everybody will hopefully end up alive at the other on the other side. It has been a couple of weeks since we last played. We have only one last recap to do, and of course, to save the best for last. Mark, you have to recap us what happened last week.
Well, several things happened last week. First of all, it was Halloween. A popular time for things that go bump in the night, and we are all that sort of thing. However, this Halloween also coincided with an Elysium, which had been called. We basically had to decide whether we wanted to rat out the Thin Blood Primogen, or continue aiding him as we had. We had the opportunity to speak directly to the prince. There were all of these various plot points flying around. However, from my perspective, Max was a little preoccupied because Halloween 2020, of course, marked the 10-year anniversary of the destruction of his haven at the hands of his sire, Gustav, who a few decades before that had been set on fire and thrown out a window by Max. So, as you can tell, there was probably some hard feelings involved there.
Only a couple.
Yeah, there were a few. And, true to form, Gustav, Max's sire, revealed himself at the Elysium. Not only that, but we found out that Stinky, the Nosferatu, who had attended the art exhibition at the club, was in fact Gustav's new child. And we had the feeling of a mousetrap closing, perhaps, on our necks. There was, immediately after Gustav revealed himself, there was the sound and rumbling of a distant explosion. And I don't think that bodes well for any of us.
Nope.
No, probably not. No, but it's, well, it was really, really pleasant to hear you recap the whole thing. I think you have a taste for the way I storytell now, which is really nice. I'm excited to continue. So, unless there's anything else, we might as well begin our very final session together here for Season 1 of Stitch of Fate, and then we'll see where we end up leaving off. So, as always, let's bring in some silence, rein it in. I'll set the scene. We'll see what our coterie is up to. As the screen fades in to the dancing, flickering lights of candlelight amongst the Elysium and the art gallery, and we watch kindred mingle amongst themselves, a quick but sudden silence falls over every single one as the camera lowers itself from the ceiling and brings itself to eye level with the rest of those who are walking. The rumbling and the distant explosion certainly jolted everybody's attention, but it doesn't take long before the kindred once again rise in volume and mingle. Gustav, as the camera settles behind Max, can be seen smirking, his eyes darting over to Maxwell and then looking around as he realizes nobody else seems to care. He spins around, leaving Stinky behind him, and as he's about to walk away, over his shoulder, he says, "Perhaps we'll be seeing more of each other, Maxwell, soon."
Well, there's no time like the present.
Max reaches out and places a hand gently on Stinky's shoulder as she's attempting to walk away, blend back into the crowd.
Hold on there, kid. Not so fast. I mean, after all, we all just got together. I think maybe we ought to have a little chat after all. We're family.
She certainly kind of stutters to a stop as Gustav continues walking carelessly without her by his side, and her head turns very gently as her eyes meet yours, her monstrous pointed ears equally as horrific as your own. And she gives a look of, there's a confusion rather that crawls across her face before there's a genuine look of almost despair or sadness. But she stops and she nods. I think that would be good.
So, how long you been with Gustav?
Without breaking eye contact, she says, 4 years, 3 months, 2 weeks, and 5 days.
You still keeping count, huh? Well, I guess I did the same myself. How much has he told you about me?
She actually looks nervously over her shoulder as her whole body turns to face you. And as you look even past her to follow her eyes, you realize Gustav now is about 10, 20 feet, and he's by the side of Prince Panhard. She, realizing he's nowhere nearby, turns back to you and continues speaking. I didn't know you were even a thing until, recently, past year or so.
Yeah, I figure Gustav started gearing up for the anniversary about then. Listen, like I said, no hard feelings. I know what it's like to be under his thumb.
He's kept me safe. Her eyes, for the first time, break from yours when she says that.
Kept you safe, huh? Yeah, I bet he did. Listen, we should find somewhere we can talk, all right?
I know where you stay. And, you can't watch me all the time.
Where I stay? What, are you telling me it's still standing? Wasn't that ominous rumbling an indication that I no longer have a place to stay?
She actually raises her eyebrows and kind of looks surprised to you. What do you mean?
Huh. Nothing, never mind. I figured Gustav was doing a replay of his greatest hits compilation. But maybe not.
I mean, he doesn't tell me everything.
No, I don't expect he does. He likes to keep us in the dark, don't he?
She shifts uncomfortably, kind of shifts your arm off of her shoulder for the first time, and almost looks defiant now. I have to go. He's gonna be looking for me. And she turns and tries to push her way out and push herself into the crowd.
Max doesn't physically restrain her. He just
Sure.
sort of shouts after her or calls after her.
Take care of yourself, Stinky.
You actually see a very subtle nod, even though she doesn't turn her head. You watch as her big pointed ears kind of dip forward a couple of times. Leaving you now standing, mingling amongst other kindred who are paying no heed to you whatsoever.
Max stands there, a little out of place considering he's wearing a bright orange t-shirt that says, "This is my Halloween costume." Yeah. I assume there are refreshments available, yes?
Of course, yes, there's
Yeah.
blood being brought about in fine glasses amongst the people. This is a celebration of a sort.
Max just sort of snags a glass of blood off a waiter's tray as he walks by.
Actually
And-
knocks the tray a little bit for a bit, but he catches it before he keeps moving, not saying a mum to you, nor making any face that would look displeasing.
And Max is going to scan the room looking for the others, the rest of the Drac Pack.
It's not hard to find Vera, for one. She sticks out. She always sticks out. But nobody can touch or be anywhere near her, unless invited, of course. But there she stands, Sean not too far from her. Duke is on his way back to the area after speaking with the prince. But Vera will be the first Max sees.
Max will glide over to Vera and utter the time-honored phrase,
Vera, we got trouble.
Would you like to start taking bets on whether or not he blew up our haven?
Yeah, that's what I figured, but
If
maybe
he did,
not.
Max, and I lean in close, I will skin him alive.
Hey, I'd like a front row seat for that. Trust me, I'd even try to choke down some popcorn. But, from what I just heard, that might not be the case. But I still don't think it was good for us, whatever happened.
Sean, of course, is nearby during all of this, and it's at this point Duke makes his way from the crowd. You didn't even realize he was nearby until he's about a foot away from you, blending in almost painfully.
Ah, there you are. Okay, what's the game plan?
Well, is everyone at least having a good time?
Sure, this blood tastes great.
It is delicious. Almost too sweet, but still delicious.
I got to admit, I've kind of got used to it being congealed. I think I like it better that way. Call me eccentric.
I look at Sean. How comfortable is Sean?
Sean is surprisingly comfortable. He's got a bit of a cheeky smirk on his face, and he's just watching everyone. And from his perspective, they're all pricks. So he's just having a good time being here, sticking out like a sore thumb, being a disruptive thin blood with all these posh people.
As Vera and Max are speaking, the camera actually will focus on the distant Sean, who's near not 5-10 feet away, blurring those who are closest to frame. And we see as Sean is causing shit, the kind of shit a thin blood like him would cause would be the kind where he has a female and a male waitress and server standing nearby, clearly openly flirting with him as he plays both sides. He has hand around each waist of each one, and there's laughter and blood being served to him almost directly.
These places aren't half bad.
He shouts over to you, and the camera then blurs him out of frame and refocuses on the nearby Vera, Duke, and Max.
Well, at least he keeps eyes off of us.
Let the kid have his fun, I suppose.
Duke, how has your evening been?
Well, it's been rather exhilarating thus far.
I couldn't tell.
Duke has a very pensive look on his face. He may be stoic by design, but his eyes are vigilant, and they are basically casing every single person here.
Max, of course, continues to stare directly at Gustav. Is he still over by the prince?
He is still over by the prince, and it is turned into jovial, pleasant conversation, it seems. At the very least, for the first time in a while, you see what seems to be a smirk crawl across Panhard's face, while Gustav openly cackles.
That is the great Gustav? I look him up and down.
Yeah.
You see where Max gets his looks.
Yeah, that's him, all right. You probably see the family resemblance.
It's uncanny.
Gotta say, though, he looks awfully chummy with the prince. I mean, last time I saw him, though this was decades ago, he was more or less on the outs with the cam. Looks like he's mended a few fences in the interim, huh?
Yes, and managed to sire another.
Yeah, Stinky's his.
Well, as much as I'd like to say we should stand here and worry about the fact that we have a major security breach, I would prefer to enjoy my evening. How do we feel about informing the prince?
The prince has already been informed that there is a potential assassination attempt.
Even if that was an explosion on the Haven, we cannot go bustling out of here, especially if we are going to be framed in some way, so let's sit back and enjoy ourselves. Keep our eyes peeled and our ears open.
As Vera finishes a sentence, you can hear sirens ripping by, growing louder and then distant as they drive away from here.
And if it is our haven, we shall begin plotting Gustav's great fall?
Fair enough. Tell you what, I'm gonna go see if I can shit in Gustav's punch bowl, so to speak.
Well, okay.
So as Maxwell peels from the group, saying he's going to go shit in the punch bowl of his sire, and Vera looks around, seeing the prince and the sheriff and wanting words with both and beginning to walk away. Sean, enjoying his company, realizing he might have the night to himself, is immediately grabbed on the shoulder by Duke. It's not a firm, angry grip, but it is certainly one that Sean could not wiggle out of easily.
No. Sean's just going to look to the two waiters and go...
Before you even say a word, as they look over to Duke, who's grabbing you, they peel themselves away from you and leave.
Phew. Always with the strange effects on people. You right?
I'm quite fine, but I believe that we need to be speaking to the regent.
Regent. What's that?
Of the Tremere. Sort of like their face, their leader of sorts.
Oh, okay. Whatever. Let's go.
Perfect. I'll lead, but I'll need you to speak of the tale of the vision that you saw. Not quite a vision as much as it is a history. You know, the removal of Johann.
I really don't want to do that, mate. That's...
Sean, you don't have a choice.
I'll come with you, but I'm not saying.
Sean, don't make me make you.
I thought they said no powers in here.
I didn't say that I was going to use my powers, Sean.
So what happened to that promise? Will you trust me?
I trust you.
Don't fucking tell anyone?
You understand the implications of what could occur if we do not inform the right individuals about what is happening.
I got a pretty good idea. I'm okay with it.
Well, I'll leave it for you then. I would just like for you to at least nod along and express that you may have seen something. If it strikes you in the moment, then by all means.
I mean, I'll come. But only to watch you make sure you don't spill beans, you know?
And what beans would be spilled, Sean, that would be of cumbersome weight?
That there might be heads rolling.
You witnessed that yourself on this evening. Johann is dead. He's my contact, someone that I was angling to work inside of the chantry and see where this would be an issue.
I'll come with you and make sure they think it's not you. That's fine.
They would know. Let's go, Sean.
All right.
And we move to find Aisling.
Yeah, absolutely. Can I actually get a wits awareness check from you to see how quickly you come across?
Sure, I can do that.
Regent Sturbridge.
Wits awareness.
Sean, you're welcome to roll as well if you're actively helping. But if Sean's not actively helping, then yeah, that's fine.
I have rolled, but I'm not seeing anything.
Yeah, I'm not seeing anything either.
Oh, the sheet has been playing up recently, so it might be slow.
Oh, there we go.
It might be faster to just you do the /R.
3 successes. You actually do find Regent Sturbridge rather quickly. Her and somebody that you're not particularly familiar with are actually having conversation on the outskirts of the room with the thin blood primogen, Mr. Larson.
Interesting.
As they finish conversation when you approach, not because you approach, it just seems the natural course of things. As you step out from the crowd, Mr. Larson actually leaves, leaving Regent Sturbridge alone.
Regent, it's a pleasure to see you this evening.
As you approach Duke, she looks up from her a small book she seems to be writing in, closes it, and puts it in a nearby satchel hanging from her shoulder down to her hip. She just raises eyebrows and nods the both of you. Good evening.
I was hoping to bend your ear for a moment.
Mr. Premind, is it?
It is. Please feel free to call me Duke.
What is it that I can help you with then?
Making sure that nobody else is immediately around, I will draw a seat for Sean first and I will remain standing.
You walk over to a nearby area that has a few comfy seats, and you kind of just grab one and pull it forward.
Regent, it has been brought to my attention that someone from the Chantry is recently deceased. They've passed on.
Do you have information that I do not, Mr. Brement?
Are you aware of a Tremere by the name of Johann?
Yes, I am aware of all of my students within the Chantry, and Johann has gone missing these past few nights. If this is who you're speaking of, then please.
I work with Johann. I assist him with his business. I run the books, the paperwork, and I make sure that things are on the honest, the straight, and narrow. And it has come to my attention that Johann has been removed from his second life.
And how are you aware of this? And do you have evidence of this claim?
I'll cast a glance to Sean.
Your name, boy.
I'm Mr. Best. Sean. I fucking saw it.
What did you see?
I saw some fella, no head, guts everywhere, and yeah, blood everywhere. It was a whole mess. I don't know what happened.
Can I get a manipulation subterfuge roll from you, sir?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Duke has no idea. Not a clue. Like, this could be completely accurate as long as
you can roll wits insight you would roll an opposed wits insight check.
I don't have any bonuses to this. Stupid thin blood.
All right, Duke, the most oblivious man in the world when it comes to telling if anybody. Yeah, you can't read emotions. You don't have any yourself. It makes sense. At the very least, Duke, you cannot tell that he's lying at all. He delivers everything in the same cadence and tone of voice, lie or truth. So you're gonna re-roll 2 of those?
Yeah. I don't want to fuck this up.
Okay.
3.
Okay. So you sit there and you say, I don't know what happened. Her, again, just the twitch of an eyebrow raises ever so slightly, and she takes a step forward. Her straight, dark brown hair, her pale complexion, her brown eyes burrowing into you as she wears a really elegant black suit. Mr. Best, was it?
Yeah.
You understand that you provided enough information worthy of the prince keeping you held prisoner until we find out everything we need. Blood sorcery has a way of pulling the truth out of people. So if you saw something, depending on how long you held on to this information before making it privy to the Camarilla and our council, will determine the kind of punishment that befalls upon your shoulders.
This was discovered this evening. Sean is in my coterie. We operate together, and while he is newer than myself, he thought that it was important knowing that Johann was a contact of mine. He sought to me first, and he was looking for someone that could guide him. I'm speaking on his behalf and attempting to show him the right way to operate with inside the Camarilla.
As you speak, her head never turns from Sean, but her eyes do. And they watch and listen to you intently the whole time before, after you finish, snapping back to Sean. Is what he's saying true, Mr. Best?
Yes, ma'am.
She gives a nod. Then perhaps you should speak the complete truth of what you saw tonight.
Okay. I want to do something really, really dumb.
Okay, I love it. You know I do.
Where's the satchel that she put her note
it's hanging from her left shoulder down to her right hip.
Okay. I would like to describe the situation I saw. I'm going to leave out Meer for the moment,
Okay.
but I'm going to describe in as much excruciating detail as possible. And in fact, like, go and find a piece of paper, like, show it to her on the table so we're standing next to each other.
You're being as truthful as possible with
Yes.
my. Can I get another then? Manipulation subterfuge roll, but you're going to get a bonus of +2 die to your pool.
Okay. I want to do something
Would
else
you like to
really
rouse the blood and add another
I
1d10?
can't. I'm a thin
Oh,
blood.
you're a thin blood.
I
Never
can't do
mind.
that.
Yeah. Oh, God, that sucks, dude.
It really, really does. I've got other advantages.
Yes, you do.
But not right now.
Still, +2 is not small. 5 is a great roll.
5.
And if you do willpower, you could reroll 3.
I think I will re-roll 3
Okay.
because I'm going to be also... Okay, that's 6.
Six
With the
successes. No
willpower.
critical, but 6 flat successes.
I'm going to be doing so much detail on this drawing. It's he's not a great drawer. It doesn't really matter.
Sure.
That she's not paying attention when I attempt to lift the book out of her bag.
Okay. All right. So for one, she will not pick up on the fact that Mia is left out of your story. She is rather intrigued by your details, especially when you start getting to the condition you found the body in and the weird, however you describe the growth that was attached to him in the wall. However, you now need to make me a dexterity, I think it's a larceny check is what I'm looking for here. Dex larceny.
+1 for pickpocket.
What's that? You got a pickpocket specialization?
He's got, yeah.
You do take a +1 on top of that.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm going to try to witness that happening.
Yeah, that's a wit's awareness. A
2.
bestial success,
3
which
more
is
rerolls.
not a big deal because it's not a bestial crit. So you do not. Oh wow. Oh wait. So you pick
3 successes on a pickpocket.
Duke. You actually can see him doing this as he's reaching his hand into her pocket. You will have an opportunity to respond before you realize what the result of the roll is.
I'm going to grab his wrist and place it on the chair or next to his side, and I'm going to move up, putting my face next to his, pretty much cheek to cheek. I'm interested. Therefore, I'm watching. I want to see closely exactly what happened, and I'm going to squeeze the wrist. Not enough to hurt, but enough to let him know that he's fucking up.
Yeah, so head was over here, body
so you continue.
attached. Ugh.
However, I need a wits insight roll from you, sir, just to see if you pick up on the fact that he's leaving Mia out of it. Did you tell him about Mia last episode? I apologize.
I'm pretty sure I mentioned Meer.
Okay,
was
so then
the
Duke
person
doesn't need a
who let-
roll. That's fine.
Yeah.
Again, the whole while, the region of the Chantry is wildly interested, not in the fact that she's like wide-eyed and like asking questions like a hopeful child, but you do, eke out a little bit more conversation from this rather mum person than you normally would. Questions about how the condition you found the body, what this growth entailed, as much as you can. You give her as much as you can, with, again, the exception of leaving Mia out of it. She seems to take all of it, and when finally said and done, however many minutes that is, she stands back and simply says, "Thank you, Mr. Best. I'll take the information you have given me, and I'll ensure justice is done. We'll find the culprit."
Thank you. Now I'm trying not to overstep my bounds, but if I needed to ask you anything, would that be fair?
What would be fair is understanding the power of your elders in a full blood, and not trying to hide information from me the very first time I ask you a question, Mr. Best.
Yep, sounds about right.
Have a good evening. And Mr. Premond, a pleasure.
Regent.
And she walks away. Duke and Sean are alone for a moment.
Duke doesn't say anything. He waits.
Could have gone differently. Could have gone much differently. I'm not afraid of you anymore, Duke.
Sean. That's exactly what I want.
Well, it worked. Thanks for helping me not fuck up.
Oh, hi. It's Vera. While you're sitting around taking a break, do us a little favor, would you? Go visit dieharddice.com. Die Hard Dice is a sponsor of this little podcast. They help make what we do possible. During checkout, make sure to use the code STITCH-NOV. When you do, you'll get 15% off during the month of November from your entire purchase. And we get a little cut for our own resources. Sounds like we only roll with the best.
There's that lingering awkward silence before we see Sean probably step away. Then the camera will zoom into the crowd again, losing itself in chaos, conversation, and exuberation. Exuberation, yeah, that's the word I'm looking for. Before it finds Vera. Vera, who is the first one you wanted to approach?
Let's go see Kadir first.
Can I get a wits awareness as you begin looking for Kadir amongst the crowd?
Oh, yes. I got a single success.
A single success will find you, Kadir. However, he's in the midst of thick and wild conversation with 3 other kindred, including a primogen. Samira is her name. Samira, again, making New York relatively unique, is the Banu Hakim primogen within New York City.
Oh, interesting.
He's speaking with her and 2 other kindred that are not of any particular power. However, because you see him mixed with others and you'd like to get his attention, and he's in conversation with someone who's of more import within the city than yourself, I would like a charisma etiquette roll from you to properly pull attention.
Okay.
Of the Sheriff of New York.
I rolled a 5 messy critical.
A messy critical for Vera as she rolls her etiquette roll along with her charisma roll to get his attention. And while you understand and follow protocol, you don't interrupt. You don't try to pull him aside, especially having conversation with another primogen. You do put yourself in his visual range. And no matter the way he turns, no matter the way he speaks, you are always there, peripheral or otherwise. And he can't help but catch your eyes a few times. And no matter what Kadir would like to do, you are still a beautiful toreador, one that many have clamored for, one who broke many a rule and, as you recently discovered, many atrocity to have. And so, after some conversation, you watch as Kadir rapidly wraps up the conversation around him and slowly and casually makes his way to you. However, Vera knows that he made sure those conversations ended a little quicker than they normally would have before he reaches you. Smile on his face again, as he's already seen you once this evening, and he begins by saying, Vera, it's good to see you. I'm glad to have more time to speak with you now before I had to go see the prince, and, well, my round amongst the primogen is done.
Yes, always business first.
Somebody walks by and he quickly snatches 2 glasses of blood off of the silver tray, hands you one. Walk and talk.
It would be my delight.
Did you catch the baseball game last night? And he smiles as he begins to walk.
Unfortunately, no. Things have been disruptive in our domain.
Rumors have, I've heard.
Kadir, you know I have never lied to you. Even in the face of my own shame.
Some might call that admirable.
Some might also call it stupid, but here we are.
He smiles and bares a single fang.
So, I'm going to make a really bold pitch here, Kadir. I lean in really close. I have good reason to believe that the prince's life is in danger, and that my coterie is being framed for it.
He leans his head back a little bit, again smirking and baring a single fang. Quite a claim, and a dangerous one.
Yes, I know.
Do you have any proof?
I am working on it. The coterie is at large. We have pieces, but the reason we have not brought it forward is because I do not have the proof you need. If I had the proof, I would have gone to the prince myself.
Vera, I may speak plainly with you as always.
Of course.
Of course this information is valuable, and I will take it into consideration. But the word of your coterie is worth, and he shrugs, about as much as honorable as your businesses tend to be.
But my word?
I weigh your word a little more heavily, certainly. But the prince... Unless you're asking me to bring this information to the prince as though it is my information, Vera.
I would not ask you to do such, wrap you into our mess. But I do feel it is my duty to assure that even if it is false information, it is passed along.
Is there anything you can give me? A lead, something I can investigate to verify your claims? It's not that the prince would not take this into consideration, but again, your crew has a reputation about them.
We found the prince's school. We cleaned it up.
His facial expression never changes, and he casually continues to sip his wine as you say this. Big discovery?
It was brought to us by someone else who needed our help, come to find out. At least that's how it is posed. And though my heart no longer beats anymore, I still have a gut. And it tells me, Kadir, that there's foul play, and that my coterie is going to fall for it.
Do you have the body still? That'd go a long way.
Unfortunately not. Like I said, we cleaned up the mess.
And I suppose you ain't willing to fork over the name of the person who told you about it.
I'd be willing to fork it over. To the prince.
Understood. Can you tell me where you found the body at least?
Yeah. An apartment. In a rather dismembered state. We did in fact take some of our findings to the Chantry. It seemed like a good idea to find out more.
Would this have anything to do with the missing Tremere?
Oh, consequences for actions, yes? This we all learned tonight.
Is the night. So
Yes,
what do you
sir.
want me to do about it right now?
I don't. But I want you to know that I've never been dishonest, and I have no reason to be now. Things are going well for us, or were, until all this got brought to our doorstep. So it makes me think that, if nothing else, I could stand on that.
It's appreciated. You know I'm in your corner on that.
Yes. May you always be in my corner, Kadir.
As long as you earn it. And he finishes off the wine glass with that line.
Well, business first, right?
Always. Speaking of, I must go see the prince.
Oh, this is where I was headed, in fact.
Well, he actually puts his arm out.
Oh. Vera takes a very deep breath. She doesn't touch people very frequently, and she does, in fact, put a hand probably on his or in like wrapped around his arm.
And it's very formal as we watch the two of them glide away toward the prince. But the camera pulls back again, as we need to see what Maxwell has been up to. How is Maxwell about to shit in Gustav's punch?
Well, as mentioned, he's going to take a brief detour en route to Gustav. Ideally, he'd sort of walk up while Gustav was, perhaps when Gustav goes back to the prince or something like that. But first, he's going to have a little word with Kaiser.
As you look around for Kaiser, he's a rather, perhaps in a similar fashion to Gustav, flamboyant man. He enjoys the company, but he's very rarely ever seen outside of his limousine, with the exception of Elysium. And here on this night, he's seen speaking not to kindred, but to other ghouls or retainers of a sort. He surrounds himself with people who he would find useful on the streets and cares not for the platitudes and politics of Elysium. And Max, that's what you see, him surrounded by nobodies. He's got sharp teeth, he's completely bald with the exception of a few wisps of hair by his ears, and his ears do come to a point, but more elven-like than bat-like.
Max is slurping on the glass. I think he finishes the blood that he had and snags another glass off a waiter's tray as he walks up to Kaiser.
Hey, Kaiser, what's the rumpus?
As he's mid-conversation, he looks up and smiles to see you, and he quickly ushers the rest away, except for one, grabbing one by the wrist and being like, no, later, I need you. Max, good to see you. Been a while.
Yeah, happy Halloween.
Happy Halloween. What can I do for you?
I gotta admit, I'm a little confused. I was hoping maybe you could help alleviate that confusion.
I do what I can with the tools that I have. Lay it on the table, Max.
You must be about as surprised as I am to see Gustav here, huh? Considering...
New York is a unique city, and Prince Panhard is more welcoming than most.
Sure, but, how exactly did he get back in the Cam's good books here? It must have been something big. As I recall, they're not really big fans of treating the Masquerade as a rough guideline.
He actually just kind of takes like a deep breath. Well, you ain't wrong about that, but Gustav doesn't have that much of, an enemy base here outside of you. And rumor is he presented the prince with a hell of a gift.
Yeah, I figured it must have been something like that.
I ain't quite got my hands on what it is yet.
Yeah, that was gonna be my next question. I see, and you got any idea how long he's been back?
Somewhere around a year.
A year?
Yeah.
You shitting me?
Not at all.
I didn't think he had it in him to keep his powder dry that long. But he's always had a real flair for the dramatic, and anniversaries are important to him. He's a sentimental type, you know what I'm saying?
He just cackles.
Yeah.
Well, I apologize I couldn't be more used to you when it comes to good old Gustav, but I only came aware of his presence in the city about a week ago, and I've been digging us ever since.
Okay. Well, good to know you ain't been keeping it secret from me that long, then.
Ain't got enough information worth coming to you for a deal yet.
Yeah. Well, you can imagine my surprise seeing his face.
He simply kind of gives an understanding nod.
Yeah. All right.
I apologize, Max. I wish I could do more for you, bud.
Nah. I mean, I thought this was taken care of. Immolation and defenestration are usually a good combo, but, never mind me.
He shakes his head. Perhaps the second time will work out for you, but I hear it's the third time, so that's a charm.
Well, it sounds so nice, I'll do it twice.
He raises his glass to you, but then hands his glass off to somebody, and you just see him grab the person whose wrist he had, lift up, and you see him just sink his fangs into his neck.
Okay. Max is gonna finish off his blood, grab another glass off of a waiter's
He's
tray.
having a great night. Your hunger's at 1. It's perfect.
As he makes his way over to Gustav, hoping to catch him when he's with the prince.
He is absolutely still having a conversation with the prince. In fact, you can actually see Vera is also making her way in that direction with Kadir, the sheriff, on her arm.
Essentially, Max is going to wait for Gustav to, as he is wont to, be laughing at one of his own jokes.
Of course. Doesn't take you long, maybe another 10 seconds of waiting before he is openly cackling at something he said.
And Max sort of glides in beside him and does the old Robert De Niro in Cape Fear thing of laughing even more loudly, like standing right
Vera,
beside.
You see this as you're approaching, and as Gustav is laughing and Maxwell steps in, completely overpowering Gustav's laugh. Gustav even kind of quieting and shutting up, but looking over to Maxwell as he does so.
So Max continues this boisterous laugh. Ah, yeah. And sort of playfully nudges Gustav in the ribs with his elbow.
Oh,
It's like,
yes,
Oh, yeah,
Max.
this guy. You gotta watch out for this one, huh? Yeah, he's a
Well,
laugh. He's a laugh riot over here.
Thank you so much.
Don Rickles, he's got nothing on this guy, right?
And Vera watches as he keeps trying to interrupt, and Max just refuses to allow him to. Prince Panhard has stopped the walk at this point, and she's simply turned to face Max. Meanwhile, Gustav, a little bit nervous, looking back and forth.
Max is just he's actually giving all his focus to Gustav. He's essentially being Gustav's hype man and kind of hyping Gustav, like, just, this guy, well, you gotta watch him, you know.
Thank you, Maxwell. I appreciate, yes. And he very quickly kind of cloisters and shelters into himself before Prince places a hand on Gustav's shoulder. It's been a pleasure. And she simply turns and leaves.
That's my cue.
And that's Vera. You see Vera peel off and go after the prince, but the camera will stay with Gustav for now. Maxwell, may I help you this evening? I apologize. I have been very busy.
Wow, Gustav, look at you hobnobbing with the prince. And, oh, man, how times change, huh? How times change. I remember an occasion when you could barely show your face at an Elysium. Protections and oaths notwithstanding.
Times change, Maxwell, and so do people. My heart has grown softer over the years.
Oh, soft, huh? Yeah, that sounds like you.
It may even bleed for you, Maxwell, my failed prodigy.
Oh, we can only hope.
Is this what this is about?
Hmm?
Unresolved childhood trauma was your father?
What is about? I'm just enjoying the Elysium like everybody else.
Ah, yes, my apologies. I don't know why I would have assumed anything else.
So, where you hanging your hat these days, Gustav? Maybe I'll have to drop by, pay my respects.
I would love to invite you by. Multi-bedroom, safe, unknown location. Everything you would want in a haven.
Ah, good. Everything except your head decorating the wall, right?
Whoa, Maxwell, is that a threat in Elysium?
No, it's a joke. Come on. You're the funny guy, right? You
And he
can keep-
chuckles very nervously along with you. Maxwell, drop the pretense. What is this about?
What's what about? I'm just
I've never known you to be.
I'm overcome with emotion at this tender reunion.
Would you like another sip of your father's kindred blood then?
Yeah. Why not?
He actually smiles, and you watch as he slowly brings up his hand. And with a singular finger and a large claw, he pulls back the sleeve to his wrist, the veins protruding through his thick purple and white skin. He plays and massages his wrist just a little bit, and looks you in the eye, and then looks over his shoulder, and there in the background you see Stinky standing and milling by. No, Maxwell, your time has come and gone. And he pulls his sleeve back up.
He sort of leans in, Max leans in and just gets very close to Gustav's face. So they're almost nose to nose, and considering both their noses are quite flat, they're quite close together.
We both know that shit you got in your veins doesn't mean nothing to me. I could drink a gallon of it and not be bonded to you, Gustav. But maybe you've given me a taste for it. Who can say? Happy Halloween, Dad.
And Max turns away.
Slowly pulling his face away, Gustav remaining wordless, clearly just a bit of unease up across his face and confusion. This was supposed to be his night after all. And Max leaves unaffected by his actions and back into the crowd, before Vera saddles up next to the prince, with Kadir at her side. Kadir moves up to the prince and says, Prince Panhard, I'd have someone who'd like to have a few words with you. She turns and regards Kadir, and then sees you, Vera, and doesn't make any facial gestures or any of pleasure or disgust, and simply looks to you expectantly but wordlessly.
Prince Panhard, what a pleasure. I appreciate a moment of your time.
And a moment's all you have, now please.
I believe that my coterie is being framed for your possible murder.
My murder? And she looks down at herself and then back to you. I am still standing.
Yes. Consider it an assassination attempt, if that makes it easier.
You are the second of your coterie to warn me of such.
Yes, clearly. Tensions are running high. We are attempting to enjoy ourselves in this beautiful Elysium. Well done.
Thank you. Whom is this person trying to tempt my life, then?
I only have fragments of the true story, but I can tell you that whoever it is took the life of your ghoul in my domain.
I see. And you have proof of this.
We cleaned up what was a unfortunate event. A ritual, which we took to the Tremere.
I see. And this has to do with the Tremere's troubles as of late.
So I am wont to believe. So I tell you this because you and I both know I have no reason to lie to you, or to try to make an attempt on your life.
She simply gives us a gentle nod before uttering thank you.
Of course. Duty first, yes?
For our own safety?
Always.
Is there any more you can give me?
I step a little closer, and I say, as I told Kadir, lying is not something that I do very well, even as charming as I might be. But I believe that Larson is also in danger, and wrapped up in this plot or ploy. Do I think he has it out for you? No. But he came to us with the information about your ghoul. Call it my stupidity or a lack of information, but I did not ask him where he got it. But it was true, all of it. So maybe a conversation with your primogen, which is outside of my purview.
It is appreciated. I will have words with Larson.
If you would like, I can have what I have delivered to you.
That would be appreciated as well. And for what it's worth, I am unsurprised that the ghoul was found in your territory. I had them watching Sean.
Yes, another link in this mystery that I have yet to figure out.
I was watching Sean because Sean's a childer of a primogen.
Yes, also new information for my coterie. Found out just yesterday eve.
She simply nods. He has value in that if others found out, including yourselves.
Well, I am afraid that it has been found out.
You reporting the death has made that clear that mystery is no longer such. Hence my freedom with the information. I appreciate your apologies, but that's not where my mind lies now. The past is the past. We must move forward.
Yes, of course.
Thank you for the information, Miss Vera and Mr. Kadir. I have words to have for the rest of this evening, and Elysium is about done.
Yes. Well, enjoy what you can. I am sorry to taint your evening.
Then she turns without any acknowledgement or goodbye, and she disappears, quickly having a couple of kindred, Arturo being one of them, come to her side. Eventually, the rest of the coterie, mingling about and finishing their conversations and actions, all do congregate and come together. Kindred are beginning to mill out and leave, but it's a slow process.
Do we kind of gather? I think Vera would go looking for maybe Duke and Sean. She's going to leave Max to whatever he needs to do tonight.
The coterie kind of, over time, basically, all those conversations were happening over the course of an hour or two. and you all conglomerate together towards the end of Elysium.
Well, I hope everyone enjoyed themselves.
Everyone here stupid.
Now, Sean.
I wouldn't say enjoyed. Yeah, it was enlightening, I'll say that.
You know
Yes.
what? I agree.
I think it was. And, if nothing else, we have spilled the proverbial beans, so at least we're clean of that.
Yeah, for all the good it'll do us.
As for our haven, well, if it is gone,
How long we got?
and he lied,
How long we got till sunup?
Looking at the nearest
Phew.
by clock, you realize you still have a good 3 or so hours.
let us return. And, in the worst case, we'll spend the night in the sewers and plot Gustav's impending doom.
And so everybody makes their way back. It's a rather long journey, but not too terribly bad. The smoke has all but ceased at this point. Wisps of it you can see blocks away in the blinking of emergency lights. But as you round the corner, the block comes into view. A sigh of relief as you realize the club still stands. The sign outside untouched and no fire or smoke billows. The fire and smoke billows from further down, a block or so away. The hospital.
Ah, shit.
And on that aw shit, in the realization the hospital's been hit, the camera pulls back and oversees the city, watching as fire trucks are spraying down fire and sirens become more distant, and we fade to black. And we'll return next week for our penultimate episode. Goodbye, everybody.
Now, I'm sure you've heard Vera say no phones, but if we're going to break 1 billion followers, then I'm going to need you to do me a little favour. If you could hop onto Twitter and follow us at Pod by Night, that would be mint, and a 5-star review on iTunes ain't going to hurt either. And maybe I'll share some of them spicy DMs with you. Cheers, mate.
A very special thank you to Kimberly and Sean Casey for sponsoring this little podcast. Stitch of Fate wouldn't be possible without your incredible kindness and support. You sure know how to rouse our blood.